Hello, the name is Osvaldo Antonio Nyaka, and welcome to another one of these episodes where we do these weekly talks. Today, I'm going to be concentrating on a principle which has influenced me, and I was reminded of it this morning. This principle is called the ripple effect. About 8, 9 years ago, just before I started in my speaking career or speaking journey, there was a certain lady, short lady, Chinese lady. Her name was Sharon. Well, I hope that her name is still Sharon and that she's still with us. And I was giving a talk at a graduation. And after the talk, she said three simple words to me. She said, join a Toastmasters or come join Toastmasters. And the ripple effect of that was that not only did I manage to find something that I love doing, I also found doors opening up for me. Different types of people that I got to meet. I got to meet different people from different types of industries, and that's where I got to find this unique voice. And this is because of the ripple effect that it had. Now, this principle is always at play, and it's never at rest. I think back about 3 weeks ago, I had this simple, stupid conversation with one of my friends. His name is Max. And he said, well, Osvaldo, I got this brilliant idea. Let's capture you speaking on camera. Simple idea. I didn't know where it was going to go, and I just said yes to it. And the result of that is that now I can get to connect with you through these videos. So that ripple effect is constantly going on. And sometimes we tend to forget that. We tend to forget that every single action that we take has this impact on other people's lives. I'm reminded of Arthur Schopenhauer and his work and his philosophy, where he talks about the fact that we all come from this oneness, and it's only through our senses that we are divided. And it's because we believe that we're divided that we tend to have this separation of who's better and who's worse. And we sometimes forget the difference that we make in other people's lives. Now, the ripple effect, think of it as a simple pond that is just still. And you throw a stone, small little stone, into that pond. The stone might be small, but the ripple effect that that has on the pond is expansive. And that's the actions that you have every single day when you come into contact with someone, when you purchase a simple product from a business. The ripple effect of that touches on a lot of aspects in society, and especially with that person. There are 1,001 uses for this principle, the ripple effect. Today I'm going to focus on how these actions, you're using them, and also to awaken within your awareness how you're actually making a difference in society. There are 7 areas of life that we all have. Each and every one of us has these areas of life. The first one is finance, the second one is family, then we have social, spiritual, vocational, mental, as well as the I said I always forget these things, but I always remind myself of what they are. So we're going to run them through them again. See, life is all about making mistakes and being comfortable with them and seeing the ripple effect of how you become better through mistakes. So the first one is financial. Then we've got family. Then we've got social. Then we've got spiritual. Then we've got physical. We've got mental and vocational. Now, these areas of life, we all have them structured differently. So, for instance, you might find that me as Osvaldo as an individual, perhaps mental, vocational, and financial is the most important for me. Then person X or person A or B has it differently. Perhaps social, spiritual, as well as physical might be the highest thing that they have as important. This, Dr. John DeMartini calls it the human value structure. Now, these value structures go beyond the moral structures of society. When we speak of moral value structures, we speaking of what society deems as good and bad. Those are just judgments, but these are individual human value structures that each single one of us has in society. Everyone has these different variations, and no two people have these value structures structured the same way. Now, what these value structures determine, they determine where the individual sees where they can make the greatest contribution to the world. And what I usually find is because most of us don't know what our value structures are, we believe that we're not making the difference that we want to make in other people. So we go into this comparison consciousness where we go into social media. We see Elon Musk. He just, captured a rocket coming back down to Earth, and we say, wow, I wish I could do that. I wish I could make that difference. But in actual fact, we are already making this difference. And this difference is structured in these hierarchical values. Now, it's important to remember that the lower down you go in your hierarchy of values, the greater the separation of greatness you're going to have. In other words, when you do something that you believe is not within your hierarchy of values or isn't within your highest hierarchy of values, that's where you're going to subordinate the most, and that's where you're going to have the least action in your life. Now, going back to the ripple effect, how do we tie this in? Here's what you do is, suppose you had a full day today. Just go to a moment where you recollect a single event within the day. It doesn't matter what it is. In my example, it could be just this morning we had a talk. We were talking about stress and how stress is not something you want to get rid of, but it's something that you want to integrate and make use of. And in this talk, I spoke about the different systems that we have in the brain. We have got your system one's thinking as well as your systems two thinking. Your system one's thinking is preoccupied with survival. It's looking for the quick fix, the instant gratitude to things. And then systems two thinking is more calm, more future focused, and more objective. And in these two different variations of system one and system two, you find that in system one, you have de-stress. And in systems two thinking, you've got eustress. Now, eustress is when you're living according to your highest values, and distress is when you're living according to your lowest values. Now, that action of teaching someone that stress is something you want to embrace and make use of, we had a talk around it. And I asked her to go to a specific place and time where she had the greatest stress levels. She picked a place and time, and she found that she finds a lot of stress when it comes to doing admin work. And then we went in and we said, okay, what was the state that you're in when you go into that stressful mode? And she said, well, I shut down. So my response to stress is to shut down. And now she believed that her shutting down does not serve other people. So therefore, she wanted to change that aspect of her life in order to feel complete. Now, went in there and we asked her, so what are the benefits of you shutting down socially? At first, she couldn't get it because remember, it's something that the mind struggles to comprehend because most of the time we tend to be in system one's thinking where we're on survival mode. What's the next thing that we want to do? What's the next thing that has to be accomplished in the right here, right now? And not thinking long term. We went in there and she said, well, the benefits of her shutting down socially is that she doesn't get distracted by other people. Now remember the ripple effect principle? We took that and we created this ripple effect, tied it into all the 7 areas of life. Then we went around the wheel and then asked, okay, what's the benefit to her financially because of what she did in the social area of life? Then she figured that, well, in the long run and in the long term, she's developing skills that help her become more competent, and therefore she can get paid better because her skills are more competent. Then we went into the family structure of life. What are the benefits to you on the family structure? Well, the more money I earn, the better I can provide for my family. Then the spiritual benefit, well, I feel more calm. The benefits of her mentally because of that. Mentally, she feels that she can take on the world. Her self-confidence grows. Then physically, she's able to rest at night because she got something done. Vocationally, she's growing. Then all of these areas tied in, we got her to the point where she said, well, I'm grateful for the stress that I have, and I wouldn't want to change the stress. Now, how do you also make use of this? You see, that one action that I did today touched someone's life in those 7 areas of life. What you want to do is actually ask yourself, take a simple action that you've done today where you feel like, this simple action that I done has not made a difference to someone's life. Take that action and actually ask yourself is, how did this action actually help someone in all these 7 areas of life? Perhaps you went to go buy a simple coffee. You buying that coffee, what was the benefits to that business? Financially, you got to support them. What were the benefits to them from a mental point of view? Well, they saw that the business is growing, they got to interact with you, and they got to ask you questions, and therefore mentally, they felt that they're connecting with someone. And you go around the wheel just like that until you see that the ripple effect is in effect in your life. And this effect is continuous. It doesn't matter what action it is. We can take that action, use the ripple effect, and actually see how you're contributing, how you're connecting back to the world. So remember that we're all born here to make a difference. And I'm reminded by Epictetus when he said that the universe had a need, and thus you were born.